Hello everyone, my name is Jasmine McCoy and welcome to my channel. If you're new here, thank you for clicking in to drop by, but if you're a returner, it is always nice to see you back. Now, for this video, I'm talking about Pearl. So good, so good, so good, so good. This is another movie review. If you haven't seen the movie, you shouldn't watch this video, or if you have no plans of watching the movie, go ahead and watch this because I'm gonna talk about everything. So, Pearl was amazing. Pearl is the prequel to the movie X, directed by T.I. West, that came out earlier this year in March. And, just as an aside, the sequel to Pearl, the third part of this amazing original horror trilogy, is coming out very, very soon. This movie is rated R for strong violence, gore, graphic nudity, and strong sexual content. And when I saw that, I was like, what graphic nudity and strong sexual content? And then I remembered, oh, there is an entire, well, not the entire thing, but there's a snuff film literally in the middle of the movie. So that was a little interesting. That was something that had me going, you didn't need to put all of that in there. You definitely just could have given us 2 or 3 seconds of the characters seeing this and then moved on from it. Because eventually it just started getting really weird. Like, please. Next scene, we get it. But I digress. I'm getting ahead of myself. So, as a, spoiler-free review of what this is, well, Pearl, essentially, to me, felt like Wizard of Oz, but she never leaves Kansas and make it horror. Make it slasher horror. Make it original, classic slasher horror. So it was like, oh, this was nice. One of the elements of the movie that really stuck out to me was the music. The music was done by Tyler Bates and Chelsea Wolfe. Amazing work. And who exactly stars in this movie? Well, we have Maya Goth as Pearl. Then we have David Cornswet as the Projectionist, Tandy Wright as Ruth, Matthew Sutherland as Pearl's father, Emma Jenkins Purro as Misty, and Alastair Sewell as Howard. And this was the perfect sequel to X. Now, I have already seen X, but even if I hadn't seen X, Pearl would have been a great standalone movie all on its own. You're still able to enjoy the characters, get a great story, good scares, all without knowing or having any connection to X and what it is that we have from that movie. That's one of the great things about being a prequel. And now moving on to my favorite parts of the movie. The opening, very good. It felt almost kind of like, as I said earlier, The Wizard of Oz. We have the big double barn doors opening up, showing you this idyllic, beautiful, like home on the range type scenario. And all the nice panning across the farm. You see Pearl putting on a nice dress, looking at herself in the mirror, dancing. And it's just like, this is nice. This is so good. It's all gonna go downhill from here, but this is a great place to start at least. And then she has a pet alligator. I mean, obviously we knew this. You see the alligator in the trailer, but she is calling out to this pet alligator, and she has this goose that she has, and that she's just essentially spoon feeding it because she's giving it to the alligator on its pitchfork. And when the alligator comes up out of the water with Pearl feeding it, that is our title card. And it's like, oh, okay, this is your clue. This is the big shebang. This is letting you know that she is a little bit messed up and that she has macabre interests, to put it gently. Early on in the movie, we're introduced to Pearl's mom, Ruth, and she is a lot. You can definitely tell that she's coded to be the villain because she has a thick German accent, and that is not in any way by mistake. You know what you're doing when you give someone a thick German accent in movies, at least for most audience members. a German accent is going to be coded as villain. And that would definitely ring true with her. She's out here saying, and this is something that is peppered many times throughout the movie, it's not about what you want. It's about doing the best with what you've got. And it's like, oh, dang, that's really sad. That's really, really sad that you're hearing that from your mom, not in a way of like, do the best you can, but almost kind of like she's telling her to settle. You just take what life gives you and you roll with the punches, because that's all you can do. We are poor immigrant farmers living here in a foreign land. We have fallen on hard times, and that's all we can do. Part of it also, I'm sure, is because she is out in this world alone. Her husband, who is supposed to be, especially in this time, considered to be the breadwinner of the family, he is paralyzed from the neck down. We don't know for how long, but he's not able to do any work around the farm. And while they're taking care of the animals, while they're making food, they're also taking care of him, washing him, clothing him, feeding him. So it is a lot. I completely understand that their life is full of hardships. But her delivery, the way that she is constantly hammering this into Pearl's head, it's almost kind of teaching her learned helplessness. That this is the way your life is. There's no use in having big dreams. There's no use in you wanting to be a choir girl dancing across the state, because that is what Pearl wants to do. There's no reason in you having this dream because this farm is all that you are good for. It's like, dang. I can see why Pearl turned out a little weird with you as her mom. But that was a lot. That was a lot to just see their family dynamic. I did like her little meeting with the projectionists. I was sitting there going, girl, you married. You can have friends, but remember you married. And then when he gave her, oh my God, because this is a very thoughtful gift. But when he took the film from the movie that she had just seen and cut out one of the frames to give to her, it's like, oh, that's really nice. That's a amazing keepsake to have. I would kill to have something like that. But at the same time, I'm going, you're married. You told him you're married. And this isn't friendly. This is a little bit more than friendly. So that's something that had me going like, noted. The next thing that I liked was the second dinner scene. So this is the one where the mom makes it very clear that she is essentially just bitter about her own life and taking it out on Pearl. That's how I saw it. And they came to blows. The mom hit Pearl. Pearl hit the mom. And it's like, ooh, the gloves are off. The gloves are off. Start swinging. They start swinging. Pearl pushes her mom and saying that I am special. I am somebody. Everyone is going to know my name. My face will be up in stars. And she pushes her mom up against the fireplace. Mom is on fire. And I'm like, oh my God. She went up so quickly. But then when Pearl goes and gets the pot, I'm like, ooh, is it water? Is it boiling oil? Is she gonna end up like Todoroki Shoto? But it ended up being water, and I was like, oh, okay. That's fine, I guess. So she did at least save her mother. She has some kind of positive feelings for her. That's what I was thinking. Turns out, no, she kept her alive just so she could feel the pain and the suffering that Pearl has felt living in that house for the past X number of years. And it's like, oh, woo. Because the mother has so many burns all over her face. She can hardly move because of how badly burned she is. And what does Pearl do? She throws her down the steps into the basement. Talk about brutal, but hey, maybe, I mean, based on what we saw, the mother kind of deserved it. Then you have her going to visit the projectionists after hours, going and seeing that snuff film, and it was just a weird, awkward scene. And then the next day, he visits her at her home, and it's so disappointing because she was so close. She was so close. She made up the, because The mom is still downstairs. She's alive. She's thumping. And he hears that. He's not dumb. So and also he sees all of the like spilled food from their abruptly interrupted dinner from last night where the mom caught on fire. And he's like, what happened here? And she's like, our dog jumped up on the table and we had a little accident, but she's downstairs in the basement. 10 minutes later, she says something about all the animals on the farm and she's naming them. And he asks, what's the dog's name? And she goes, what dog? Girl, if you're gonna lie, you gotta be ready to keep all the lies straight. And you only told one lie. He essentially rejects her. And she blows a gasket. It's like, why are you leaving me if you said you like me? What did I do? What did I do wrong? What did you see? And it's like, you definitely don't want to word it that way, because if I didn't see something, now I'm going to be asking, what did I miss? But he says, Pearl, you're scaring me. I'm going to head out. He should have gone a little faster. He shouldn't have turned his head on her, because she stabbed him in the chest with a pitchfork. And I'm sitting there going, you literally told her to her face that she's scaring you and that you're getting ready to leave. Why did you turn your back on her? Why were you not running? Why were you booking it out of there? Because you didn't see her as a threat. And that's where you made your mistake. Because she is a very serious threat. So, another kill in the books. And then she goes to her little dance audition. She's out there doing her routine. And I'm supportive. But within the first few seconds, I knew she wasn't going to win. She was not kicking as high as all the other choir girls in her mind. Her arms were not as tight. She was doing some things where it's like, okay, okay. I don't know why you thought that looked cute, but okay. I love you. I support you. Go off, sis. You're doing great. And when they reject her, her breakdown, oh, she's so good. Maya Goth is such an amazing actor. And then you have the 4 judges. They turn into all of like her worst moments. One of the judges turns into her mom, telling her, I told you that you wouldn't make it. I told you that you weren't made for this, that you would never be chosen. You're not good enough, essentially. And then you have one of them as her dead father, another one as the dead projectionist, and I don't remember who the 4th judge turned into, but that's what she's seeing in her mind as they're rejecting her from being a part of the choir that would be singing and dancing and going across to tour across the state. And it was just so sad. And then you have Misty trying to make things better. It's like, girl, just go, just leave. That's all you gotta do, just leave her. But she's being a good sister-in-law. She goes to Pearl's house. Big mistake. They should have gone to Misty's house. But they go to Pearl's house. And this is where you have Maya Goth make this amazing 7 or 8 minute long monologue. Because Misty is saying, Pearl, I know something is wrong. I can see it. It's written all over your face. You have things that you want to tell Howard, because Howard's her husband who's off in the war. I completely forgot that. Her husband, Howard, he's off in the war fighting, so she hasn't seen him in a very long time. She's waiting for him to come back. But she's like, just pretend like I'm Howard. What would you say to him? She has this 7 or 8 minute long monologue, and it was just good. It was so good. So she starts talking about how she misses him, but also about how she does not understand him, how she resents him for being from wealth, because Misty is a very privileged, her entire family is very privileged. They wear nice clothes, they're able to afford good food. They have a car versus Pearl and her family. I mean, they have cows and a bicycle. She's talking about how she doesn't understand how someone as nice as Howard would choose someone like her. She realizes she's lucky every day for him to be a part of her life. But at the same time, when she got pregnant and she felt that little life growing inside of her, all she felt was disgust, and how she was so relieved when it left her because she could give a sigh of relief. She didn't know how she would ever be able to possibly take care of anyone else. And it's like, whoa, okay, girl, this is heavy. This is heavy, but it's also like, you haven't said anything, you know, suspicious yet. You haven't said anything out of the normal. Because marital problems, okay, I get it, because she also confesses about like her little relationship with the Projectionists, talking about how you wish you had money. Cool, yes, get it. And then she says, somehow in the middle of this monologue, she transitions to, I feel like something's wrong with me. Something's always been wrong with me. It started off with just these little animals, but it felt good to kill them. And it's like, just stop. Just stop. You were so close, but now you're going into it. And then she's talking about how, but now I've moved on to bigger things, and it felt bad when I killed the Projectionist and mama and dad, XYZ, elemental P, and it's just like, you saying all of this to Misty? And then eventually it cuts to Misty and her being like, I'm gonna go. And it's like, good choice. But at the same time, she gets up and Pearl is like, you can tell me. You don't have to keep pretending. I know that you got it. Because one of the things that the judges had said was that they're looking for someone younger and blonde with that all-American look. And that's what Misty is. Younger, blonde, XYZ. And oh my God, Misty, she should have started running right then and there. But she starts walking. She walks out of the house. And that lovely, beautiful house that you were opened up to at the very beginning of the movie, it is now a nightmare. It is now a place of unspeakable horror. Because Misty is doing this, like, okay, let me get out of here. Walk where she doesn't want to look like she knows that something is wrong. But we all know that she knows something is wrong. And Pearl knows that Misty knows that she's messed up. And she gets halfway down the driveway and Pearl takes this axe out of a stump where they do all their firewood cutting. And that's when she starts running. And Pearl did, you know how in those like old classic slasher movies, when you got the axe and they're just, I'm gonna get you. But they're not running, they're just walking because they know that you're gonna trip over something and all I gotta do is walk and I'll be right at your door. Misty fell down right in the mud and then she's like, oh my God, no. And it's like, girl, all you had to do was pick up your feet. But she takes the axe and now Misty is dead. Those are her 4 kills. Mom, Dad, Projectionist, Misty. And then they did this interesting montage of her getting rid of all the bodies, cutting them up, throwing them in the river to her alligator. And it's just like, wow, how are you going to explain that one away? Because the people who are part of the show group dance choir, they're going to be looking for Misty. Howard's gonna be looking for Misty when he comes back from the war. The mom, Misty's mom, is gonna be looking for her. And it's just like, I guess we're not gonna talk about that. Okay, so we have a little time skip. You see this car with all of these soldiers come. One of them gets off at the farm. He walks up. He sees, oh yes, in the montage also, Pearl had put her mom and dad, their dead bodies, up at like the dinner table and had set everything up like they were eating. It was weird. It's not good, but that's what Howard walked into. Their dead, decaying bodies, the rotten, moldy food, and the end is just him turning and looking at Pearl, and Pearl is standing there. And she is looking at the camera. She is crying, but smiling. And there's a difference between smiling but crying. She is crying, but smiling. And she just Like, you can tell it is painful for her to be smiling in this moment because all she wants to do is just break down. She's hoping, I guess, in this moment that he will love her, accept her, hold her, and just be there for her because that's what she needs, since she has literally gotten rid of every other person in her life that has ever shown her care up until this moment. And that's how it ends. The extreme close-up of Pearl's face. And that is how they do all of the end credits for about 2 minutes. And while they have all the people's names and what it is that they did up there, they keep her eyes clear. So that was good. That was so good. But it was an amazing movie. I loved Pearl. You should definitely go see it in theaters. You should also see X. X obviously is not in theaters, but you can find it in a bunch of places on the internet. And the next thing is Maxine. Maxine is the sequel, and that was what was in the end credits. So after they finished scrolling all the names, they played the trailer for Maxine. Very good movie. Absolutely loved it. I love horror where the woman is the main villain. We support women's rights and we support women's wrongs. And I personally love when women play the big slasher, because that's part of why I liked Friday the 13th. Yes, we know Jason is the big bad. It's who everyone remembers. But the mom, when it was revealed that the mom was the killer, I was like, ooh, that's a twist. And when you have this movie with Pearl, with someone seemingly unassuming, someone who has a innocent desire, an innocent dream of wanting to be a movie star, that is where you can find so much pain, so much hurt, and the drive to do terrible things. That just is how it is. But it was a great movie. I absolutely loved it. Because we are in spooky season, there are many other horror movies that are also coming out. So if you had any thoughts about the movie Pearl, if you had any suggestions of other horror movies that I should watch, you can put those in the comments, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.